Hi folks, this is Dr. Dane here from Access Consciousness, speaking for the Return of the Gentleman series. And one of the questions I'd like to answer right now is, how does a gentleman handle conflict? Well, there are 4 questions you want to have whenever anything comes up, actually, including conflict, which is, what is this? What do I do with it? Can I change it? And then how do I change it? See, the thing about conflict is it occurs when you have a different point of view than somebody else, and oftentimes where somebody's trying to impose their point of view on you. And so what happens is the first reaction we probably have is to go into resistance to the person. The difficulty is resistance and reaction never works. See, the way it works is this. So we have the positive polarity and we have the negative polarity. The positive polarity is aligning and agreeing with the point of view. And then the negative polarity is resisting and reacting to the point of view. But neither of those give you freedom because you're stuck on one side or the other and you keep going like this. See, conflict occurs when people have differing points of view. And when you go into resistance and reaction, or when somebody else is in resistance and reaction to you, that's when conflict gets created. And it can be horrendous for all of us. I mean, is there any of us that likes to deal with conflict? Wouldn't it be nice if we didn't have to? Yes, but guess what? The first thing you have to do is not resist it. Not resist the fact that there is this point of view that somebody else has and that they're fighting you on or trying to get you to be different, because resisting is not going to help. See, you have the positive polarity, which is alignment and agreement. You have the negative polarity, which is resistance and reaction. Neither one of those work because you're stuck in a polarized point of view when you function from that. So the first thing is, the way to get out of the polarized point of view is to use a tool from Access Consciousness called Interesting Point of View, I Have This Point of View. So if you're in conflict right now in some area of your life, maybe you're in conflict with yourself or with another person, just get one thing you're in conflict with, because I'd like to show you how this works. Get the sense of that, get the energy of that it brings up. You know how it's kind of like, ah. And what I'd like you to do is get that energy and just say, interesting point of view, I have this point of view. Cool. Now one more time, because usually what happens, just saying it once, the energy shifts a little bit. Then again, say, interesting point of view, I have this point of view. And it usually shifts again. So, interesting point of view, I have this point of view. Interesting point of view, I have this point of view. Interesting point of view, I have this point of view. Now, notice what shifts in the energy. See, one of the things about a true gentleman is they're acutely aware of the energy of every situation they're in. They're also acutely aware of the energy of every person they're interacting with. And unfortunately, even though this should actually set us free and be a guide to us for how we can be, it often sticks us. Because if somebody is getting highly agitated in a situation, we pick up on that and then we resist it and then we're stuck. So this interesting point of view is the first step to getting out of conflict. Now the second thing is, like I said, you want to ask, what is this? Like, what's really going on here is really the question. What do I do with it? Meaning, how can I handle this? How can I change this? Can I change it? And if so, how? And so as you start to look from that place, what starts to happen is you get a different sense of what's going on in the situation that you're in. And it starts to allow it to become unstuck. The first part is getting to interesting point of view, so you're no longer functioning from resistance in the situation. Now, there are several ways to handle different conflicts that you will have with people. One of them is if you are in conflict with somebody because of something that you did or something you said that really was not what you should have done or said, grow a set of balls and be willing to apologize, okay? This is another aspect of a gentleman. A gentleman's like, look, I'm willing to acknowledge when I was wrong. And this can be one of the greatest gifts for you and the people you interact with. So how does that work? Well, you acknowledge, hey, I said, and this, what this does, this is really beautiful because it takes us out of that place where we're trying to prove that we were right, like so many people in the world do, that's killing our planet right now. So you can either be right or you can be free and happy. What would you like to choose? So here's how you do that. If you did something that was something where you did something that wasn't kind, wasn't appropriate, or was just being an asshole in a situation, you go, I'm sorry, I'm wrong. What can I do to make up for the damage done? I'm sorry, I was wrong. What can I do to make up for the damage done? And just in doing that, just in acknowledging that, and you do it with total vulnerability. I'm sorry, I was wrong. What can I do to make up for the damage done? Oftentimes you give other people the doorway to come off of their fixed position. Because if we look at it, conflict essentially is created by two people taking a fixed position about how right they are and how wrong the other person is. And once again, you can either be right or you can be free and happy. Which would you like to choose? So if you want to end the conflict, you first get an interesting point of view, and then you go, I'm sorry, I'm wrong. What can I do to make up for the damage done? And oftentimes just asking that question opens the door where the other person goes, wow, you know what, you're not wrong. I thought it was this and this. Or they go, hey, you know what? Thank you so much for the apology. That's all I really required. And I'll tell you, in 90% of the cases, that really is all that's required. Because the other thing that creates the conflict is you say or do something, and the person goes into the idea that you're wrong, and now they have to prove you wrong. And they will prove you wrong for all eternity unless you do something to change it. So these are two really simple tools that you can use. The interesting point of view, and I'm sorry, I'm wrong. What can I do to make up for the damage done that can create an enormous change in your relationships? Now, are you always wrong? Not necessarily. Are you always right? Not necessarily. But if you don't have to be right and you don't have to be wrong, you can be totally free. Remember that thing I said about positive and negative polarities? The positive being the alignment and agreement? That's where you go, I'm right. The negative is where you go, I'm wrong, and you stay in the judgment of that. There's a totally different choice where you go, look, I realize that what I said was wrong. I'm apologizing now. What can I do to make up for the damage done? So I hope this gives you a totally different perspective on how you can deal with conflict, how you can change it as the gentleman that you are. And the thing about a gentleman, please recognize, is they are the potent person in the situation. It's like the gentleman is the wizard in the room, if they choose to be. Now, if you choose to be less than that, if you want to act like a 6-year-old and be right and everybody else is wrong, that's totally okay. Just recognize it's going to create a totally different result than if you choose to be the gentleman you truly are, grow a set of balls, and be willing to change the situation. Okay? Hope that helps. From Access Consciousness and Return of the Gentleman, this is Dr. Dane here. What if you, truly being you, are the gift, the change, and the possibility this world requires? You are, my beautiful friends, and thank you so much for watching. We'll have more tools for you soon. Bye.